it may have half the views of any other video we do, but if it has that one view, I'll take the half views, quarter views, whatever. I don't care if 10 people will only watch it.
Well, it's never a good problem when you get to the farm and he is taking a tire off the tractor. This was not how I expected to find you when I got here.
Huh?
This was not how I expected to find you when I got here.
Well, I mean, we've been dealing with this tire leaking down for a while, and it's time to have it fixed.
There you go.
And,
we just thought you was taking it easy today.
Well, it is what it is. Hey guys, it's Nick and Zoe with Chestnut Hills Farmstead, and today is probably one of the most important videos we've ever done. And it might be a tough one, but we've got a lot to unpack for you today. But before we get into that, we got to go have this tractor tire fixed, because that is vital to our farm, and especially what we had planned to do today. We got to have it. Let's go do that, and we'll start in with the rest of our video.
Okay. Well, we got the tire dropped off, and it won't be today. So we'll have to get that finished up so we can work on our next project in a few days from now.
So we sat here in this exact spot in December of 2021 and introduced you to our family. Hey y'all, we're Nick and Zoe with Chestnut Hills Farmstead.
Hi everyone, we're the Baker kids. I'm Mac and I'm 12.
Yeah. Okay, it's my turn. I'm Rat and I'm 3.
I'm Chance and I'm 7.
We just wanted to introduce you to the rest of the hired labor that Zoe has out here. We had started this YouTube journey September of that year. We're coming up on 4 years of this. And from the very beginning, we have said that our farm is where faith and farming come together. And we've had lots of questions, especially recently, about how that happened. And today we're going to tell you. We're going to lay it all out there. It may not be an easy one to hear, but this is for you guys.
Hey, Sink. I was coming to see y'all for a minute. Is that okay? Hey, Ferd. Y'all already ate. Sissy's already come over here and fed y'all, right? I'm just coming to visit for a minute. Can I sit down with you guys? Can I sit and hang? Want to come sit under your tree? Come on. Well, let's just sit down under the tree and talk for a few minutes. We didn't really discuss what we wanted to cover in our videos, but I know that whatever Nick says is saying is going to be instrumental in his life and the way that it has shaped out to be. And I know that a lot of the things that I've been through have made a huge impact on the way that my life has turned out as well. So I guess we'll just jump into it. Faith. How did we come to faith? So I grew up in a faith-based house. My parents were very big in church. They lived for the Lord. They tried their best to raise us that way as well. My dad was very heavily in ministry, and one thing to this day that anybody can say about my dad was that it didn't matter who he come across, who he talked to, He was going to make sure that they knew that God loved them, and he would pray for people in a heartbeat. And for the longest time, that drove me crazy, because we would always stop no matter where we were, and he would talk to somebody and he would end up praying for them, or people would roll their eyes at him and he didn't care, because he knew that his job was to be a voice. And so he did that, and so I miss that now. But for me, as a person, I started to go astray in my life pretty early. Things that I haven't shared with you guys. I had a baby very early. I had a baby when I was 17. And that was just the beginning of my life kind of falling apart. Not too long after that, I got into another relationship, and that's when my addiction problems began. And I had Chance and Mackenzie, well, Mackenzie and then Chance, and that was an entire lifetime of whirlwind and chaos. That was the longest 7 or 8 years of my life. It ruined my entire 20s. And I had a house set on fire while I was locked in it. Beaten, abused, mentally, physically, emotionally, all the things that you hear about people going through. That was me. I was broken. And I just continued to allow it to happen. I knew better. There's you see people and you're like, I know they could do so much better. But I knew that too, and I just continued to allow it to happen. One day, though, I had finally said enough was enough, and I was trying to get myself out of that situation. And in the midst of it, I had a person. I used to work for my dad and my grandmother, and we had a scrapyard, junkyard, whatever you want to call it, to be a place where you would recycle, a recycling center. You would recycle metals and aluminum cans. And a man of faith came up and he said, I know this sounds really weird, but I need to tell you that God has a word for you, and he needs you to know that you're worthy, and that if you can ever let go of this situation that you're in, that he has a plan for you, and that he also has a spouse for you. Somebody that's going to love you and take care of you and will not hurt you. And that just sounded so wild to me, because in all of my brokenness, it's hard to feel like you have any worth or any value. And at some point when you're in addiction, you just kind of say, I am too far gone. There's nothing left for me. Well, little did I know that I had an entire life that was worth living. So, in one of those long nights that I was having, where it was just a broken mess, I had gotten to where I didn't want to wake up in the mornings, and when I did, I would be mad because I was allowed to see another day. It was just not worth it to me. And so I just could hear this voice in my soul kind of stirring. You coming to visit? I was sitting on the ground waiting on you, and the ants started getting on me. I was waiting for your visit. I wonder if I can find somewhere to see it where you can come visit with me. Let's find somewhere. We got to keep talking. These people want to know. Come on, let's see if we can find somewhere. So back to what I was saying. So in that long night that I was in, and I felt the stirring down in my spirit. You know, that stirring that you just kind of push aside because you don't want to deal with it right now. You're just so broken and you just don't want to do it. And it says, come back to me. You're not too far gone. And I said, oh gosh. And then I heard, you can't do it on your own. Look where you are now. You hadn't made it very far, and you can't do it on your own. So I just sat right there in my bedroom and I cried and I prayed. And I just said, Lord, if this is it, you know, your way is better than mine. I've tried and I am failing desperately at being a human being. And I need your intervention. And that began the turnaround of my life.
So now I can explain where my part of this came from. Zoe's done a video about her story before, and I don't know if some of you have seen it. I'll put a link in the description. We've talked about it before. But y'all don't know a whole lot about me. And I was not always the guy that y'all know. The father and husband and deacon. That wasn't me. I was not prepared to be a father. I wanted a family. Something that y'all don't know is that I've been married before. I think I was a pretty decent guy. And, you know, I was faithful and worked hard. I was in law enforcement back then, and I was just a totally different person. But what I wasn't doing was living my faith. Now, I was raised in church. I was raised to be a believer. But I shied away from that. I got away from it. I didn't focus on it. And I certainly didn't try to live my life a certain way. I did things the way I wanted to do them. And that marriage ended. I didn't want it to, but believe it or not, I was the faithful one. And that marriage ended. So I spent a long time single, and boy, did I live a single life. By this time, I had gone to work with the company that I work for now, and I was making good money and a single man, and I would spend it by spending my time in bars. I played pool 4 nights a week, and you'd be surprised how God can use things like that, because that's how I met Zoe. And I was not looking to meet anybody, but she came along. But I had to be prepared to be ready for her. And I had gotten back in church and was trying to live the life I was supposed to. But prior to that, I was living that single life, you know, playing pool and drinking and doing whatever I wanted to do. It wasn't anything for me to spend $400 or $500 at a strip club. That's just, as long as my bills were paid, I was just doing whatever. And that was not the type of man that needed a wife and kids. And even though I wanted them, I was not prepared for that. I was not ready for that. So at one point, I decided that I didn't like the way I was living anymore. So I got back into church and started trying to do things right. I was still single. And that was when I was finally prepared to meet Zoe. I finally had gotten to the point to where I had become the man that she would need me to be. And it was okay for us to be together.
a lot of the things that Nick and I talked about when we first got together was that, you know, we both have pasts. And if we had met in our past lives, we would not be where we are. We were two totally different people in two totally different lifestyles. He has a police background. I have a attic background. But our paths never crossed because it wasn't time for our paths to cross. We both know that. So there was a time and a place, and it found us in the right time. When we first began this farm journey, we definitely knew that we had to base it on faith, because everything we are doing is because the Lord has led us into this position. I never thought that I would be a farm girl and be sweating all the time and, just being dirty and having bugs and all this. I was very much a girly girl, and I still miss those days of the nails done and all that, but this is the life we have, and we know that we have been promised a life for our family and our future. And we've got to stand by that because we have a purpose. And some days we are human and we get so discouraged about growth and being envious of what other people have and how other people are doing and handling things, and some days feel stagnant, but we also know that the Lord is using us in our farm in a way to honor Him and to share the gospel. We just know to keep praying and to be steadfast in it, because our time's coming and we are going to be able to have the desires of our heart, because we are being true to what we're supposed to do.
When we first started this, I was still working off the farm, and Zoe was on the farm every day. And it became such a struggle and such a tight all the time that Zoe had to get an off-farm job, which has put us a little further behind of where we wanted to be. But, if we feel like we are following the plan for us, then we had to take steps to continue to do that. And at one point I questioned that. Is this really what God's wanting us to do? Because it's not going very well, So we were invited by Jason and Brooke to go to the Okie Homesteading Expo. They were going to be speaking there. It was the very first one. Had no idea what we were getting into. What were we doing going to Oklahoma? And we had put back some money to try to do a family vacation, and we're like, you know what? We're going to use this. If we really want to do this, if we think this is where God is leading us, then we're going to use our vacation money and we're going to go to the expo. That's what we're going to do. So all 3 kids were with us, and away we went, and we met some of our closest friends now. And I really feel like that was all part of the plan. We met others that live by their faith. The Walkers have been such a blessing to us, and that was the very first person we met. We stepped out of the car, and there's Cassie on live, and I'm, wait a minute, I have no idea what's going on here. Y'all have heard Zoe and Cassie both tell that story. But we felt like, hey, this really worked out. So Dutch was putting together a creators conference to really drill down to how to do this better. And Zoe and I talked, and it was pretty costly per person. And I told Zoe, I was like, well, you're the face of the channel. You go to the conference and just take notes and let me know, what we need to be doing differently. And she was like, yes, but you're the one that does the editing and the videos, and there's no way I could do this with just me going. You need to go. And I was not willing to go without Zoe, and that was, how are we going to pull this off? So, another leap of faith, we figured it was going to be $1,000 for us to sign up for that conference. Not to mention the cost of a hotel and eating and all that stuff. I told Zoe, I said, we have just a little over $1,000 in savings right now. And that's going to wipe us out if we do this. And she said, if you truly believe that we are following God's plan for us, then that's where we need to be, because I had a certain amount drawn out of every check going into savings, and it was just over the amount I needed to sign up for the conference. So we did it. We took that leap of faith again, and we basically went all in and used the savings to sign up for that conference. Then I've got to figure out a hotel room. Well, by the time we had decided to finally bite the bullet and do it, the discount code for the room block where they were staying had expired. And I was like, Zoe, I don't know how we're going to pull this off. That same day, I got a call. And if this doesn't give you chills, you need to re-examine things. I got a call from the bank. I had Zoe's car payment coming directly out of my check, and something had happened where they had to continue to draw. It had just paid off, and they had continued to draw out of 2 more checks. And she called me and asked me, hey, this car has paid off. Do you want us to just shift this into savings? Do you want us to cut you a check? Do you want it put in your checking account? What do you want to do with it? Because this has gone to this loan amount, and the loan had already been paid off, and they had continued to withdraw it. She's like, we're just going to put this amount in your account somewhere. What do you want to do with it? And I asked how much it was. She gave me an amount, and I told Zoe, I said, you know what, this will pay for most of the room since we don't get the block discount since we're late. I think we can swing it. So I called the hotel, and they asked me, are you coming for the Creators Conference? And I said, yes, as a matter of fact, I am. She's like, well, we've got some rooms left. We'll give you the discount. The cost of that room was 4 cents. 4 cents different than the amount I had overpaid on that car loan. When she told me that, I was sitting at my desk at work, and I just broke down. I mean, I lost it. And I had to text Zoe because I couldn't talk. And I told her, and she called me. And I could not talk. I answered the phone, and she was just silent. So we were both just sitting there holding the phone in silence. And I said, Zoe, we are doing what we're supposed to do. It's happening. It's being made to happen for us. We've got to keep going. So we did. Now here we are a few years later, and we're still living by the seat of our pants, doing what we got to do. You know, we talked on the live stream. I cut a lot out of the video about Zoe and I disagreeing about this coop over here. And it's not exactly like she wants it, but we're having to do it a little bit at a time, because y'all, if anybody is doing social media and YouTube channels or whatever, you don't automatically just be able to make a living off of it overnight. It's going to take time. But we're doing that by faith because of the things that have happened to push us in that direction. You know, I've told you guys that we don't do the Wednesday live anymore so that I can be involved in our men's ministry. It's a men's Bible study because I really wanted to dive deeper into that and really try to be the husband and father that I'm meant to be. So I think that was a leap of faith in itself, was cutting back from this life that we've put together, this social media channel, and that took away part of putting that out there, which is part of our income. But I felt like I was being told to do that, and that's just a leap of faith to know that that gap's going to be filled somewhere else. I hope that I've answered some of those questions you've asked. You know, how do you come to faith? You got to make the decision to do it first. You've got to make the decision that whatever you have in your life that's not by the word, that's not how you were told to live. Y'all, we have an instruction manual on how to live our lives, whether you like it or not. Society today will tell you, yeah, but you know, you're supposed to just love each other. You're not supposed to think of that as sin. Yes, it is. You got to call it what it is. And what I was doing, I wasn't hurting anybody but myself. I was not doing anything criminal. And by all usual standards, I was a pretty decent person. But I was not living anywhere near what a believer should be living. And I had to call it what it was. Sin was sin. And that's the way I was living. And I was not going to be where I wanted to be, whether it be a father, husband, or anything else. I was not going to achieve any of that living the way I was, because I was not prepared to be that. Because he had a woman prepared for me that needed me, but she didn't need that version of me. You are never too far gone to get where you want to be. You just have to make the decision that you are done with that life, that you've had your fun. You have taken all that, the pleasure of the flesh, and you're ready for pleasure of the spirit. And that's what I was ready for. And here no, we're not where we want to be. We don't have all the things we want. We don't even have the farm we want. But we're closer and closer and closer, and it gives me peace.
I think that I've gotten a lot better at discernment as an adult. I think God has given me more discernment as to people and their true intentions. I've spent a lot of my years getting hurt over and over by people because I didn't want to see people for who they are. And I felt like I needed to say this too. And it might be totally different and off kilter from what he wanted me to say. And he might even delete it. I don't know. But my encounter the other day with that snake, as I was riding on the tractor, all I could think about was snakes in the grass. And the Lord tells us to be leery of the snakes in the grass, because they'll come and stick their head in places they shouldn't be and stir and cause trouble. And people might not see them for what they are. And I'm getting better about that discernment than I used to be, because I've had lots and lots of snakes in my life. Metaphorically, not real. And I wonder too, subconsciously, if that's why I have such a fear for snakes, because I've had to deal with so many snakes as people. But I've gotten better about it, and I try now to, be aware and to not let those people infiltrate my life anymore, because I need peace as an adult. I don't need to be hurt, and my husband works very hard to make sure that I'm not hurt, and to protect my heart and to protect me as a person. He likes to take the brunt of things for me because I'm very fragile. Y'all might not know that, but I am still a very fragile person who doesn't always see my worth. And he has to remind me that I'm not who I used to be. So, in that, watch for the snakes in your life, because they're up to no good, and you've got to see them for what they really are. And you don't have to hate the snakes, but you don't have to befriend them either. And it'll come to light one day. And when that day comes, at least you protected yourself. Anyway, I need to say that, I think, for somebody. Might have been for myself. My sweet cow's behind me. I really hoped Bruno would come visit, but he didn't. That's okay. I'm watching him from over here, and he's hanging out in the trees in the shade. Thanks, guys, for listening to my heart piece. That's not even a thing, but yeah.
I know this has been a very serious video, but I think it was one I was being told to make. And the views may be terrible on this. It is what it is. You know, I'm gonna get messages from some of my friends in this world that say, man, that's just a subject you want to stay away from. It's not a subject I want to stay away from. If I'm going to do what I'm being told to do, I felt like I was told to make this video. And it may have half the views of any other video we do, but if it has that one view that needed to hear that they weren't too far gone, that they could still live their life by faith, that it was not too late, I'll take the half views, quarter views, whatever. I don't care if 10 people will only watch it.
I had one more thing to ask you guys. This is Farmer Rhett's gourd vine that's growing. We have two. And he has these massive gourds on here. There's two of them. And I've just noticed there's a baby one. We got some more. Looks like on the other side. But see how long this thing is? How long until those are ready? We've never had gourds before. When do we know that those are ready? And how many do we expect to grow on this? Let's go check on the other one. So here is the other gourd plant. And there is our other gourd. There. This one's much smaller. So I don't know how many to expect to come off of it. Either way, it's going to be neat. We just keep training them to the fence.
So that, I hope, answers some of your questions. I promise the next video won't be so serious. If you've got any questions, guys, if anybody's watching this and got a question about faith or anything, how to come to faith, if you're living in a way and you think you really want to change things but don't know how, send us an email, send us a message, comment on the video, and I'll get back with you however you want to do it. We're here for that. You got anything you want to say?
No, I think I said enough.
Guys, we appreciate you being with us. As I said, I promise the next one won't be so serious. We'll see you next time at Chestnut Hills Farmstead.
Bye, guys.
I know my mom has showed you my gourds, so comment down below if you think I should make some birdhouses and sell them to Pedals event. Comment down below that, okay? Let's go home and cook some burgers. Bye, guys.